Hi, I'm Sarah from Quail Cottage.
And I'm Katie from Grown by Lightning Hollows.
We're two flower farmers here in Australia, and together we're your bloom mates.
Today we're going to talk about selling to florists or selling wholesale, like the other side to selling retail and selling by a roadside stand. So this is kind of more what Sarah does.
You do it as well.
Yeah, I do it a bit, but it's kind of your focus and something that I do as a smaller side of my business. So I'm definitely looking to you as the expert leading us here.
This will be more a conversation than an interview, though the selling retail one was almost more like an interview where I ask Katie questions because I don't sell retail. But yeah, this will be more of a conversation between the two of us. And I am a big nerd, so I've actually created a downloadable resource to go along with this episode. It was going to be free, but then I spent many hours on it. So it's going to be on my website for $9.99, which is like the price of a one bunch wholesale of like something basic.
And it's beautiful. They've done such a good job on it.
Thank you. So the resource is 23 pages long and covers 13 topics. It's got heaps of info and like actual resources. So some of the things it includes is a breakdown of how I use the ordering platform that I use. That's like my availability list. It's called Florist. And it's got like screenshots and it goes into detail. I've also linked a spreadsheet that you can use if you don't want to use Florist for whatever reason, like an availability spreadsheet that has photos in it and a drop-down menu for availability so that the florist can filter by what's available and your whole list of what you sell.
And yeah, Sarah is a spreadsheet queen, so you can
say that. But it's a fairly pretty spreadsheet.
It is,
yeah. An example of the availability email that I send out to my florists, screenshots of how I keep track of pre-orders in my Google Calendar, an example of how to break down your cost of production on a crop and like other pricing info. And yeah, heaps of other stuff. But yeah, I think to kick it off, we should start with like why you would choose to sell to florists and is that the best choice for you?
Yeah.
How did you sort of go about that?
I think someone found me, which is similar to you, right? A local florist reached out and asked if I would sell to them. And then they had other people that they had done their course with. And so my first season, that was who I sold to.
Yes, and it sort of snowballed from there.
Yeah.
So both of us were selling retail first. I only sold retail for like a couple of months before I switched. But yeah, both of us, a florist reached out to us. But we will go into like how you could reach out to a florist further into the episode if it doesn't happen organically like that, or if you're a new grower and you want to get straight into selling to florists.
And yeah, I would say that the first season where I started at the start of the season, I wanted to send out an availability list every week. And I did. I sent it out pretty much every week. Didn't call that successful. I did get orders, but I ended up pretty discouraged with selling to florists. And that's part of why my business is more aimed at retail, because there were lots of weeks where I didn't hear anything back from anyone. I did have one lovely florist who buys off both of us now, who she would reply. And like sometimes she'd reply and be like, oh, would you have anything for this wedding? And her business was pretty new at the time, so she didn't have a lot of weddings. But she would just reply to my little bits of information of what was going on the farm. And that was super lovely and encouraging. But yeah, overall, I felt just like, no, this is not working. So
why do you think that is? Do you think it was that you didn't deliver or like they had to pick up or your crops? Or I'm just trying to work out why it wasn't successful that first season.
Maybe having to pick up would have been a barrier, and like that's a difference to what there is now because we do the harvest, which we're going to talk about later.
Were you selling, was it mainly retail or event florists on your list?
Part of it was that I had lots of new florists. Like the people that I was sending it to, it was maybe 10 people. It's like 10 florists. And lots of them had only just started, so they only needed flower. Yeah, they didn't need
have
flowers
many.
regularly.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe
sense.
it was the type of florist that I was sending it to. But yeah, maybe also just because I was kind of just an email in their inbox. Maybe lots of them weren't even opening it and looking at it because we didn't.
It was like extra admin for them.
Yeah. But yeah, the reason that I said that of like that it can be discouraging is going out by myself trying to organize it was tough. And I basically was going to give up. And then the harvest came about. And as in give up on selling to florists.
Yes. And we'll go into it more, but the harvest is a local flower hub for growers and florists.
Yeah.
Yeah. Kind of like a little flower market. But I guess my first piece of advice would be if you're deciding if you should sell to florists, I would do a deep dive on florists in your area, like on Google and Instagram, and work out if there's enough like demand, if there's a big enough customer base. Are there enough florists in your area to focus on selling to florists? In small rural areas, it can be a bit trickier. We're really lucky in our area to have tons of florists.
Yeah.
And then I guess think about how much time you have as well, because there's higher margins in selling retail, but it does typically take up more time than selling wholesale because you're selling to more customers. In your case, selling roadside stand, it's not the customer interaction that takes up extra time. It's like the actual like making of the bouquets. But if you were selling a different way, if you were selling retail a different way than a roadside stand, there is that customer interaction. You're selling less quantity to more people, whereas you can move more quantity selling to florists with a lot less
communication time. And
yeah. Sometimes it does take extra communication back and forth, but it's one person. It's not lots of different people.
And you're probably more likely to build like regular weekly customers selling to florists.
Yeah, you can build like loyal long-term relationships with fewer people.
Yes.
Yeah. Like some of my florists feel like colleagues, especially the ones that order in advance for an event. Like it almost feels like we're collaborating.
Yeah, it's like a team effort to get those flowers together. Whether you enjoy designing bouquets, I feel like that is a big part of it, or not. And I mean, you do like making like really large, extravagant arrangements, but that's kind of not likely to be able to be like a bread and butter sales.
No,
It's very occasional.
Yeah, like not so much bouquets that are wrapped, but more like table arrangements is what I love doing.
Yeah. But then also like what you enjoy growing. For me, I really love the super bright, colourful, sturdy flowers as well because I'm not very good at being delicate with things that need it. So yeah, that kind of lends more into retail, but then it can also lend into selling to a retail florist as well. Doesn't necessarily mean that you need to sell them retail, but I guess the type of florist that you might want to approach depending on what you enjoy growing.
And then that also comes down to what florists are in your area. If you love growing like the unusual, delicate stuff, but there isn't a huge population of wedding florists in your area, it probably isn't a smart business decision to do that.
Unless you're willing to deliver.
Unless you're willing to travel. If you're growing on a larger scale, obviously. Yeah, but focusing on selling to retail florists is definitely the smartest business decision. For me, I haven't focused on that just because I'm focusing on what brings me joy, and that is like unusual, delicate stuff, which is higher value. So as far as like revenue goes, it probably does kind of even out potentially.
Yeah, but it's more like you don't have as much
lower quantities and it's not like standing orders either. Retail florists, they obviously need flowers every single week, multiple times a week. So standing orders are an option. So you've got consistent sales.
And another, like what you just mentioned there, a benefit to selling to retail florists is that they do want flowers through the week, not just on one day. Whereas if you're just focusing on weddings, it's like a lot of pressure of harvesting kind of around that middle of the week time because they want to get their flowers like for Wednesday, Thursday, for the weekend, which, does make it hard. Like having your harvest time just once a week is a challenge, I feel, because can mean flowers get wasted.
Yes, definitely. If you're time poor though,
totally.
it can kind of even out. For me, harvesting once a week works for me, even though I do have a lot of waste. Not a lot. I would say probably a quarter to a third of the flowers I grow don't get picked. I have to deadhead. I feel like isn't that bad for only harvesting once a week.
And also, I was just thinking for spring flowers, like two of your main crops being corncockle and pansies, both of those have like a pretty wide harvest window because they have multiple flowers on the stem. So if you miss it when its first flower opens, you can usually pick it when its second flower is opening.
Especially with pansies, because it just keeps getting taller and will grow more and more and more flowers on it. Pansies are great for me.
Yeah.
There was some loss, not early in the season, through like September and early October. I don't think I had any waste. But then as it heats up, corncockle goes over a lot quicker. And then and then the thrips came. That was the other reason. So some of the stems just were too damaged. Yeah. I guess that leads us into choosing your crops if you are going to sell florists. So micro flower farms can really thrive by specializing. So depending on your area and the needs of the florists, you can specialize in certain crops depending on what they need. If you're selling to a lot of wedding florists, I would definitely grow tons of white and green for consistent weekly sales, but there are like other popular wedding colors that I would sprinkle through. I would make sure probably like half of your flowers are taken up by white and green though, and then the rest some other colors. Blush, peach, blue, burgundy.
Yeah.
I've noticed a lot of lemon yellow recently too. Yeah. That's like a trend thing though, so probably won't translate forever. But those, especially blush, peach and blue, they're
always kind of going to be around. Yeah.
As far as selling to retail florists, what would you suggest?
I mean, I think it depends a bit. Like there's flowers that I love for certain reasons, like say statice and paper daisies. I feel like retail florists will buy those.
Yeah.
And then they're so great because they have a wide harvest window. So, you can pick them kind of over a span of a couple of weeks. They're both
and they have like
come again
optimal harvest time. But you can harvest them past that point still.
Yes. Yeah. And I mean, I still waste stems of both of those. By always I'm like, I'm going to pick them and dry them. And then a month later, I'm like, oh, no, now they need to be deadheaded. But yeah, I think they're good. I've sold quite a lot of Delph to retail florists.
Delphinium.
Yeah, Delphiniums, which is one of the reasons I'm changing varieties because I was growing it with the idea of event florists in mind, but actually most of the florists that I sell to are retail.
And they want the smaller.
Yeah. And
not
the ones,
small, but the ones that Katie was growing were monsters.
Enormous. Yeah, like my most popular variety that I've grown has been the belladonna, which is...
the butterfly.
The butterfly. Yeah, the blue.
Oh, it's so cute.
Yeah, and it's really easy to use, in bouquets. And it's quite versatile. It's still like, its stems are probably still, I could cut them to be a metre long so that it's not a dwarf variety, but just small, and it's been popular.
And that's a good one for both retail and event.
And like say one of our local florists who buys off me for weddings, here's one of my biggest downfalls of selling to florists. She texted me like 2 weeks ago asking for blue delphinium and I did not reply until the week of, and she'd already been to the market, but she got really big delph and she was like, if you have any of your small blue, I will take whatever you've got.
Okay.
Even though she'd gone to the Sydney markets, wasn't able to find
the butterfly.
Yeah. And she needed it for the bouquets. I think like ranunculus early in spring, sold a lot of those to retail florists. I think they're such a great flower. I wish that we could get them all year. You can get them in obviously a range of different colours to kind of suit whatever client. They have such a good vase life and they're beautiful. Also currently having, different lace varieties. I feel like that kind of filler that florists need, like, economic filler, or even...
I have found lace isn't selling that well to retail florists.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. To some, but some of them just don't buy it at all. And I'm wondering if it's because it does molt.
Yeah, true. I think it's so hard to predict. Well, I find it hard to predict. Like I took spare Ami Magus one week and then, a florist ordered one bunch and then she was like, oh, I'm just going to take all of it.
Yeah. As far as varieties go for wedding florists, some of my suggestions for like more delicate, unusual things that will make you stand out would be things like corncockle, pansies. I grew Silene vulgaris, which is also called blushing lanterns. And the florists actually know it as witches' thimbles. I grew it for the first time this season, and every single time I listed it, sold it. I sold every bunch that I...
And at the harvest, people would always come up and be like, oh, are these sold?
Yes. I want to grow multiple beds of it next season.
Nice. Is it an annual?
No, it's a perennial.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. And a very prolific self-seeder. So I shouldn't have a problem adding more beds. Actually, it's a seed that I'll be selling on the website too.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah. And it's really unusual. So yeah, you would really stand out with that one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Phlox is a great one. It can be tricky to start from seed. Actually, I'm going to do a blog post on phlox, I think, because I get questions about it in my DMs all the time, and I'm constantly like having to repeat myself. So if I can just send a link, that would be easier.
And it's one of those things, which I mean, there's heaps of stuff in this category that it's quite hard to grow and you can't buy plugs. So if you can grow it well,
plugs of the short varieties, which I did trial a shorter variety this year from Ball in plug form. It was Pop Stars White, and I sold a lot of it. It was my fourth most, like as far as quantity of how much I sold of it. It was number 4 for spring. Okay. So Wedding Florist still bought it, even though it was only like, I'd say on average it was 25 to 30 centimeters long. But yeah, they would use it in table arrangements and even bridal bouquets.
Yeah. It was really beautiful.
Yeah, you can get
And it was like
a
really crisp, clear white.
Yes.
Like in terms of getting white flowers, it was
it was truly white. Yeah.
I've ordered the bright pink of it next year, and I'm really excited, mostly to use myself.
It's called purple though. Yeah, but it's like magenta.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
It's really pretty. It's the one with the eye in the center. I love it.
I'm so excited. But yeah, phlox is something I have grown before. I think it was one of those things the first year I grew it, it was beginner's luck and I had heaps of it. It was that year that I mentioned of like I had it on my availability list and no florists ever ordered it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Actually, while we're talking about phlox and Pop Stars White, I should say I tried to order it for next year, but Ball's seed supplier had a crop failure and the white they won't be doing in Australia next year. So that's sorry for teasing, but yeah, it won't be available.
And yeah, we haven't mentioned, I feel like we've mostly focused on spring because that's what we've had to sell.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, obviously dahlias are great.
Especially if you are in an area where like florists would have to get dahlias from, further away because they don't travel as well. Yeah. And obviously their vase life isn't like super long. Yeah. It's not bad, but
I think there's something that retail florists still absolutely love.
Yeah.
Like I don't feel like their short vase life detracts from that in terms of retail florists. And we've had in our little group of florists a lot of interest in the more single, unique ones. That you're not going to get at a big commercial farm because they are more delicate. So
I'd say that's more event florists though.
Yes,
yeah. That loving the singles and the collarettes and anemone varieties. Yeah.
And then Cosmos is a good one because again, short vase life, so it's a good thing to if you can grow it well and they can get it locally. And zinnias similarly, and both of those. The time when I went to the Sydney markets, quality that was being sold there, I was like, that's crazy that's what florists have to buy here. Just like, the Cosmos with the centers really fluffy instead of like nice and flat how we want to harvest them.
Before they've been pollinated.
And zinnias, I guess, like wrapped in plastic so all their petals are quite squashed. You know how zinnias, they're a pretty sturdy flower, but one thing is they don't do well if they're crammed in.
If they're like leaning against something, the petals sort of fold up and then they kind of stay in that position.
Yes,
you almost have to manually flatten them back out with your fingers. Celosia?
Yeah, I don't feel like I've had a lot of celosia to offer, but I'm hoping that this year I will. My celosia is coming.
Actually, and I'm going to put this out there as well. We often get requests when we ask florists what they want, what they buy a lot of. Feedback that we get is that they buy hydrangeas a lot. And Heidi is something that you kind of need, especially in our area, you need infrastructure for because it is so hot. The sun all of my hydrangea, even the stuff that's planted on the east side of my house where they only get morning and, around lunchtime sun, they're crispy.
Yeah,
they're brown.
I have been using hydrangea lately, and it's all I can get is the short stems that were shaded by other stems of hydrangea.
Yeah, same. In saying that, though, that's all the macrophylla varieties.
Yeah.
The paniculata is so much tougher as far as sun goes, and the florists love it.
Yeah.
So if you're looking at like really going hard on investing in something and you've got the space for infrastructure, hydrangeas
would be
a really good one.
Yeah, for sure. You wouldn't have the space for planting lots of them, and we just don't have the shade. I'm working on getting a shade tunnel.
That would be so good.
Ian is now on board because we went and visited another local farm that has shade houses, and Ian now knows what I mean.
Yeah,
and
he can visualize it.
We just don't have a good space because previously mentioned flooding. So
that would be the best spot as far as like it's nice and flat.
Yeah,
you've got a lot of space in that area, but it floods. But then you wouldn't want to. You could put it in the orchard, but that's so well established with perennials that need sun.
Yes,
you wouldn't want to. The only thing I can think would be the side of the orchard where the chickens were. But then you would have to get rid of some trees, some like fruit trees.
Yeah. It's a work in progress, but I would love to grow more hydrangeas because I love them. And my hydrangea collection lives in pots, tucked in behind our shed.
In like part shade, but still crispy. Yeah.
They get shaded by the shed in the morning and then shaded by a tree in the afternoon, but right in the middle of the day they get sun, and that's been enough to burn them, sadly. Anyway, sorry, that was a bit of a detour. Anytime we get on to talking about types of flowers, we go totally distracted. Actually, and sorry, there was another one I wanted to mention is Bells of Ireland.
Oh, yeah.
I think Bells of Ireland is a really good one, both for retail and wholesale.
Yeah,
both.
And green, especially this year, green and that like almost like apple green. Chartreuse obviously is very popular, like that. The colour of the green amaranth, that sort of colour is really big this year. But that like apple green.
Yeah. And the benefit of bells, they're pretty sturdy. I've never had them like wilt or anything like that. And they're also something kind of like pansies is the stem just keeps getting taller and taller. And so you don't have to pick them at a particular time. Like you can just make your way through your crop and sell however much you wanted. Like how I did it this season was I just had one bunch listed and I harvested one bunch a week so that I had it for like quite a few weeks. And I could have just sold it all in one go. Yeah. But instead I just did it like that.
Yeah, trickled it out.
Yeah.
It's also like a valuable flower to the florist because it takes up so much space. Like it's a big stem and often branching. Yeah. So me saying I had one bunch a week, I now feel like I need to put the disclaimer in as I had a complete crop failure and the only space that it was growing was in my blueberry patch. So that's why I only a few plants.
Yeah. I think like 3 or 4. Like, but that produced that many stems. Yeah. For some reason, it's very happy growing. The
self-seeded ones.
Yeah. Just huge.
Yeah. So good. All right. Yes. Let's move on to approaching florists. So I'm going to start with what not to do first. So I would always try and contact a florist first and not just walk into their shop unannounced, especially if you are a new grower or you don't have that many florists that you're selling to yet. They may not react that well to you just randomly showing up, and then that can really knock your confidence.
Totally.
So for your own benefit, make sure you contact the florist first, whether that's via email or DM or even if you ring them.
Yeah.
I wouldn't just walk into a shop with a bucket of flowers and expect them to be receptive.
Yeah. And I've heard florists say that it's helpful if you are willing to give them some flowers, if that's what you're thinking.
Not a lot, maybe like 1 or 2 bunches.
Yeah.
Just as a...
But that it's really helpful if they can have a time when that's going to happen, because if you just drop them off when they're in a really busy period, they won't have the time to like appreciate whether they're appreciate the quality or anything like that. They might just get shoved to the side and not used, or they might just get whipped into bouquets and sold. But
without them even noticing
exactly
that they're your
but
flowers.
Yeah, if you can do it at a time when they're going to have the time to actually like have a look at the quality or test the vase life, that's actually going to be more valuable. I've just heard florists mention that, so I feel like that's a useful thing.
Yeah, definitely. And try not to send an essay when you contact them. If you're emailing them or DMing them, which I am known to be an essay writer when I send messages, but just rein yourself in. If you need to, write the essay first and then cut it down to just the important stuff. Don't make extra work for them and like make it feel like admin to them. Make it super easy. And also don't ask them to set prices for you. I'll go more into this further in when we talk about pricing, but even if you're a new grower, have your prices set beforehand because you're meant to be the expert. Even if you're a new grower, you need to have that professionalism.
Yeah, and have confidence in your product and in what you've decided it's worth.
Even if you're not an expert yet, you need to pretend that you are.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I think like it's fine to be open about discussing prices.
Totally.
As an example, the first time that I sold 9-bark was to a florist through you. And they let us know afterwards that they can get it so much cheaper at the markets.
If you're going to talk to a florist about pricing though, I would probably have some sort of relationship with them first.
Totally.
And have a sense of whether they're a trustworthy person.
Yeah.
So that they don't lead you astray for their own benefit.
Yeah.
But I would not make it a habit of asking them. If you can find the information elsewhere or work out a like cost of production breakdown so that you know what it's costing you to produce and then can set your prices that way. But if you either haven't got time to do that and you're just trying to move the stems, or you can't find information elsewhere, ask your florists about pricing in small doses.
And even maybe not asking them so much, but just
I'm thinking of charging this much. Does that seem reasonable compared to what you would usually pay?
Yeah, I was thinking even more just having some sort of statement of like, if you ever want to give me feedback on pricing, I'm open to it. Like, so not even asking them directly, but like knowing, I guess, kind of what the underlying thing would be like, if you're not buying from me because of my prices, let me know.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
But like, I would like that feedback. And then
I would too.
Yeah. But at the same time,
how do you do that? Because you don't want to put that on your availability like email as like an open invitation for people to.
And no, maybe that's a more once you know them and in person thing.
Yeah, I think so too. And as far as what you should include, I'll give you an example. I've written like an example email or DM, and then I'll go into a bit more detail. So what I've written is, "Hi, I'm Sarah from Quail Cottage. I'm a local grower specialising in," and then list your varieties depending on who the florist is.
Yeah.
If they're a retail florist, focus on your retail flowers. If they're an event florist, focus on your unusual stuff. Don't list every single flower you grow. Yeah. Just list like the ones that are either the standout crops or the ones that you've got the highest quantity of. Yeah. And then I'll have these crops coming into season soon and would love to send you my weekly availability list if you're open to it. I use a website that makes it super easy for florists to place orders. And then if you were happy to, you could share the link to that. Yeah. If you use a spreadsheet for your availability list, obviously change it accordingly to whatever you use for your availability list. But you want to point out that you make it very easy for florists. So it's not going to be extra work for them. And if you can include your prices on that availability list so that they can see your ranges compared to where they currently order. You don't necessarily want your prices to be cheaper, but just so that they've got a gauge of if you are going to be way more expensive or if some of your crops are cheaper than where they currently buy them. That's information they're going to want to know. They're going to want to know prices. Yeah, straight up. And if they're interested, you could then offer to go and meet them in person and take them some sample bunches. Not a lot. Don't offer a lot of freebies. I think 1 or 2 bunches or a small mixed bucket would be okay. And obviously you'll also want to discuss with them how they get your flowers. Like,
Yeah.
do you deliver? Would they have to pick up? What days do you deliver? Actual logistics and
And yeah, I feel like delivery is a big
selling point.
Yeah, is a big selling point if that's something that you can work in. And I mean, for all means, like charge for it if that's
Yeah,
thinking.
being charged for delivery.
But yeah, I think that is a good way to stand out. Offering delivery or like offering an easy way for florists to get your flowers. If you could deliver at least to start with, it's a easy way for them to start getting your flowers into their weekly routine, as opposed to it being like a block of, well, you know, they're not going to order $20 worth of flowers off you if they have to drive half an hour to pick it up. Like as a like getting your foot in the door, I think that would be helpful. I mean, in saying that, I have never offered delivery.
But in some cases, like if you have an off-farm job and you have to drive to work, if there's florists on your route, you could offer delivery on your way to work.
Totally.
It doesn't have to necessarily be like this big thing.
And actually, I have delivered to florists.
On your way to work.
Yeah, in that way. But yeah, where I live, I'm lucky. I'm on a really main road. So the people that do come to my house to pick, like the florists who come to my house to pick up flowers,
and there are
either live nearby or drive past anyway. So yeah, that's why. But I think make it clear, how do they get your flowers?
I think another way to stand out, especially if the florists are used to getting their flowers not from a wholesaler, but even from a wholesaler actually, usually availability lists don't include photos.
Yeah.
Which the feedback I've gotten about the platform that I use for my availability list is that the photos are what makes a huge difference. Because, like, for example, the colour may be listed as peach, but a lot of people have different interpretations of peach.
Yeah.
Like, someone may call it apricot. Someone may think that peach is like blush or a warm pink, or there's having photos really helps, especially if it's an uncommon variety as well, which often us micro growers are growing things that aren't common in wholesalers or in big commercial operations. So some florists may not be familiar with a lot of the varieties that we grow. So make sure you include photos, whether you use a platform or your own website or a spreadsheet. You can add photos into spreadsheets. I won't explain how to do it. Just Google it. Watch a YouTube video.
And yeah, particularly if you're focusing on event florists, offering pre-orders so that they can kind of book you in for flowers when they're planning their
pre-orders
event.
in advance.
Yeah.
Like, not just the same week pre-orders. I've taken pre-orders like a year in advance for a wedding before. But usually it's like a few months is the most common. That is a big advantage for florists because most larger growers, probably wholesalers, you could put in pre-orders in advance. But the context we're coming from is here in Newcastle, most of the florists get their flowers from the Sydney Flower Market. So they're dealing directly with commercial scale growers. There's no middleman. Growers at that scale who are doing the growing as well as the selling, they just can't manage keeping track of pre-orders that far in advance. Apparently the norm for commercial growers is about 2 weeks out. They'll take pre-orders, but no further than that.
And I feel like this is something that I'm particularly bad at because I lack confidence in saying that I'll have a flower.
Well, I never say that I have a flower. It's like a pre-order request with the understanding that it may not be blooming by then. Like florists are used to, they're working with a perishable product. They're used to it failing. Yeah. They're used to orders falling through. They're used to like the seasons are all out of whack.
Yeah.
Some things are meant to come on at a certain time of year and they just don't.
Yes.
Even if it's a week or two late, it can make a difference. But they're used to that. So it's more of like an understanding of if I have this at this date that you have asked for it, it's yours. And if not, then that's just life.
Yeah.
It can be hard to keep track of, but I will explain how I keep track of it. And there's screenshots and stuff in the resource that I'll have on the website. But yeah, I've found that to be a big selling point.
So as someone who pretty much just sells wholesale, what would your week look like?
All right, so my workflow for the week, and it does vary if I have orders that florists are picking up on different days.
Yeah.
Most weeks I just sell on Thursdays at the harvest, but on like busy wedding weeks, sometimes I'll have florists that will pick up from our house as well. But yeah, a typical week looks like going and doing a walk of the field, our yard, and doing an estimate on what our availability looks like. And that's usually on a Sunday or a Monday. If I was organized, it would be best for me to send my availability list on a Monday, but I'm not always organized enough. And I shouldn't even say it's usually a Tuesday. It's always a Tuesday. It started as a Monday. I just can't. I would like to get it back to a Monday, but it's a Tuesday now.
When I'm excited about my flowers and I have cool things to sell, it's a Monday. When I feel like I don't have a lot to offer, it's sometimes a Wednesday.
Oh my gosh. And this is bad advice, by the way, because consistency is really important. If this was like my full-time job, or even if I was like part-time at my off-farm job and growing part-time, I would be a lot more consistent and on the ball. But yeah, I can't manage everything. So yeah, consistency is important. So try to send your availability list on the same day every week. But yeah, so I estimate availability on a Sunday, sometimes a Monday. Then I update the availability list and send it via email. And then usually as well, I take a screen recording on my phone of my availability list and post it on my close friends' Instagram story, which I've got all of my florists on that list. And that's a really helpful tool actually, because Instagram prioritizes close friends. So the story shows up at like the start of, when you open Instagram, it's one of the top ones.
Yeah.
One of the first ones. And it also is private. So not everyone can see your pricing, just your florists.
Yeah.
So I'll do that at the same time, because florists aren't always checking their emails, and that's just like extra admin for them. Whereas florists are on Instagram all the time. So yeah, that just makes it easy for them. And I put a link on that Instagram story to the list where they can go and order. And then I receive the orders and confirm them, plan any deliveries and pickups if it's relevant, if it's not just all pick up from the harvest. Then usually like the day before or even 2 days before, I will cut, depending on how many orders I have. Sometimes I do need to start 2 days beforehand, and then deliver to the harvest and send my invoices out hopefully that day. Sometimes it's not that day, but yeah, that's the aim. So that's how the weekly workflow looks. Yours is similar, isn't it?
Yeah, mine is similar. I try and send my list on a Monday, harvest orders on a Wednesday morning for the harvest on Thursday morning. And sometimes Sarah is taking my flowers, and so I definitely have to have them done Wednesday morning because she'll pick them up Wednesday afternoon, so I can't harvest anything extra Wednesday night. But yeah, if I'm going, sometimes I'll harvest Wednesday night of anything extra that I want to take with me to the harvest. And then, yeah, my week, because I then sell through the roadside stand Friday, Saturday, Sunday, harvesting Wednesday feels like the start of my flower week revving up. And then, I obviously harvest and arrange
for the weekend.
Yeah, Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday night.
Let's move on to the tools that we use and like systems and stuff. We mostly use the same stuff. We both use Gmail. Gmail's just so good. Like having a Google account is such a good option. Even if you don't have a Gmail email, you can still have a Google account.
Yeah.
You can use any email to sign up for a Google account. Their tools are just so good. Like I use Gmail, Google Calendar, and Google Contacts is great too. I mean, Outlook has all of the same sort of things. I looked it up, and I think most email platforms kind of do as well. But yeah, Google Contacts is great because you can make groups of contacts. When I send out my availability list, I just type in to the to section of the email availability list, and it pulls in like 50 florists that I want to send that list to all at once without having to manually type them all in. And actually, another note, I use the BBC send
so they can't
feature.
see who else is getting them.
Yeah, just in case there's any like awkwardness of florists sort of seeing who else is on the list. I don't know. I just feel better about doing it that way.
I just have my contacts in my Apple contacts, which is probably not as efficient, but it does.
That does the same thing?
It does work, yeah. Although, I worked out that I was missing like 10 florists that I've added into my contacts list, but somehow they're not in the list that gets emailed, but I need to fix
They need to
that.
be added, yeah. And Google Calendar is how I keep track of all of my orders. Florist, you can obviously see all of your orders in there and in your emails, but sometimes florists put in orders in person, or I haven't put the boundary in place that I don't take orders via DM. So sometimes I get orders on Instagram that I have to keep track of, or maybe they'll like contact me after putting an order in on Florist and I have to add stuff to their order. So Google Calendar is where I keep track of it all.
I use Google Keep and I write it out like a to-do list of the florist and then a tick boxes of everything I need to harvest for them.
Oh, whoa.
Yeah. Because I got sick of scrolling back to look at the different orders in Florist.
Yeah.
So I like it written out like that. I also use Google Calendar, but I'm not that efficient at putting things in. And Florist as a tool is good. It's definitely not perfect. Like there's things that we'd love to change about it, but as a free tool, it's pretty good. And for us, because there's quite a few of us that all use it, the florists know what to expect with it, I guess.
Yeah. One of the things with Florist is it keeps track of your quantity, which is the main reason that I love it. Obviously, you could use a spreadsheet, but as orders come in, the spreadsheet isn't going to automatically update. You have to update it manually with what's available. But with Florist, when your quantity goes to 0, the florist can't then place more orders, but it doesn't change its status from available to not available. Sometimes the florist can get a bit confused and ask me, contact me like,
sold out.
Yeah, what? I can't add it to the cart. I don't have that problem very often.
Yeah.
Yeah. And any florists that have asked me about it, they just now know that, they need to look at the actual quantity number.
Yeah. Okay, yeah.
And then we both use bookkeeping software. You can just get invoicing software, or you can use like Square or Stripe. I think there's also one that's free called Wave.
Yeah.
But that doesn't you can't keep track of your expenses and like proper bookkeeping stuff. It's just invoicing in those. So I use QuickBooks and Katie uses Xero, and they're basically the same thing. Yeah. I've had no problems with QuickBooks. I really like it. And that's how we send our invoices. Yeah. And then like Instagram Close Friends, I guess, is another tool that I use that I really like.
And I have that as well. And I've done it a couple of times. I think it's a great idea sending out your availability list like that because, I think that's a good way to just get your flowers in front of them. But I've used it for making decisions and putting up, would you prefer this or that?
I really like using it for that too.
Yeah, in my close friends to help me crop plan. And again, that's super visual. It doesn't require florists to write a message. They can literally just tick.
And it's better to do it close friends if you're selling to florists, because if you put it just on your public Instagram, everyone will vote.
Yeah.
And if your customers are florists, you want to know what they specifically want. All right. So let's talk about taking and managing pre-orders in advance, because it is a really good selling point. It will make you stand out from other growers, larger growers. Even some small growers don't take pre-orders in advance. It just has to be like a decision that you make. If you are confident in keeping track of them and are confident about offering flowers in advance, you just have to have the mindset that it's not like a guarantee.
Yeah.
Both parties need to understand it's not a guarantee. It's a request.
Yeah.
Pre-order request. But it's a win-win situation because the grower knows they've already sold those stems if they're available.
Yeah.
And the florist knows that they've secured the stems. So it's great for both sides, and it helps build trust and like long-term relationships as well.
Yeah.
And probably speeds up building trust and relationships.
Yeah, I do take orders in advance. I don't it's probably only a couple of florists that do. And so it's pretty easy to keep track of. But yeah, I would say one of the things that I tend to have orders for is delphinium, because I feel like florists tend to know when they're going to want that for an event. And yeah, for me, it has a pretty long harvest time or flowering time. And so it's easy for me to be like, yep, I should have it then.
Yeah, you usually have it over like a 3 or 4 month window?
Yeah. Whereas, say ranunculus, that there's a period where I'll definitely have them, but the weeks either side, it just is going to depend a bit on the weather that we get and what sort of spring we have. But I suppose it is something that becomes easier when you've grown a crop a couple of times and you know your climate, because you're going to have a better idea of when you're going to have it.
Yeah, in your first year, I don't think it would be a good idea. Maybe once the crop starts, and if you know the crop does have a long window of being in bloom. But yeah, in your first year, it might not be a good idea to offer pre-orders in advance unless it's already started.
Yeah. And yeah, I probably don't do it for any crop I haven't grown before.
Yeah.
I'll just say, yes, I am growing that. I'll let you know closer to.
And do you make a note of it in your calendar?
No.
Or does it go in that list?
Nope. Those things live in my head.
You are wild. It's amazing that you remember, because you very rarely actually forget. It's because you're anxious about it. You think about it all the time.
Yes.
You stew on it.
How could I forget when I'm constantly looking at those baby plants thinking, is this going to flower at the right time? But no, don't do as I say. Definitely have some sort of record keeping of that.
And yeah, if an order falls through, florists are used to having to pivot. So just be clear that it's a request.
And you can kind of make it clear that you're saving that for them. That's what you're saying, really. If you have the flower, it's theirs, which is kind of cool.
Oh, yeah.
It's not a guarantee, but
yeah,
if you have any, you will save it for them.
And taking pre-orders in advance, if you take them really far in advance, another selling point is you can almost tailor your crop planning if they have a request. So I specifically grew something for someone's wedding this year. It was the florist's actual wedding.
Yeah.
Because I was given a year's notice, I was able to plant something specifically. And some crops don't even require a year's notice. Like with zinnias or cosmos, if you were given 3 months notice, you could just about.
Yeah.
And the way that I keep, sorry, we're really jumping around here because I just keep remembering things.
And we want to
do everything. The way that I keep track in my Google Calendar is I put an event in, cut for Katie, whoever. And then in that event, I list the flowers that they want. This season, I also started doing something which I've put a screenshot of in the resource that I made. In advance, I've started putting, and when I say in advance, I mean like a few months in advance, I've started putting on a Monday morning, I have an event in my calendar called predicted availability. And in there, I'm listing all of the crops that I should have in bloom then. And when a florist puts a pre-order in, I put that at the top of that little list and then adjust what's remaining underneath, so that then because often I'll be talking to a florist at the harvest and they will ask, they'll say, oh, I've got this really cool wedding coming up in a few months. This is the color scheme. What will you have? And then I'm just able to quickly pull up a list of what I might have and also see what someone else has already ordered. So I'm not getting their hopes up that I'm going to have chocolate cosmos when someone else has already ordered, pre-ordered chocolate cosmos for that week. And I found that really helpful. It also helps with updating my availability list, because sometimes I'm I'll come inside and I can kind of do a mental walk through my beds to work out what I have. But it's a lot easier to look at that list of predicted availability and be like, oh yeah, and go through an update like that. And with Florist as well, there's also the date available feature. So you can list the approximate window that something will be in bloom, which is a useful tool for us to, have reference for. And when I notice that a date is different to what I thought or different to last year, I will adjust it for myself. and for the florist. But yeah, the way it helps the florist is that they can use that as a tool for pre-ordering in advance.
Yeah.
And you can filter your availability list by date available. So it puts it in order of the year. So you can scroll down to like September and see what
all the things that are available then. Yeah, that's very cool.
Yeah.
I think you're really good at predicting your availability and kind of putting it out there confidently what you're going to have. Yeah, how do you do that?
I hate when people say it comes down to practice, but like that is the main reason I feel confident is that I've like practiced enough, I suppose. But some actual practical tips, I guess, is when a crop first comes into bloom, I take a photo of that bed and then do a stem count. But usually the first 1 or 2 weeks that something's in bloom, I have to actually do a physical stem count.
Yeah.
And then after that, once I have that photo of, which is like a reference of, okay, that's what the bed looked like when there were 40 stems, I can then look at that and compare it to what the bed then looks like later. Because often things, when they first start blooming, they just start to trickle in and then they, really take off later. So I can kind of gauge from that photo, okay, there's 4 times the amount of stuff in there. And you always want to obviously under promise and over deliver. So I never list 100% of what I think I have, even if it's just like 2 bunches less than what I think there is. Yeah, I definitely don't do actual stem counts of things other than the first 1 or 2 weeks that something's in bloom.
Yeah.
Are you the same? You just sort of...
Yeah, I mean, I just mostly
gauge.
Yeah. Visually gauge how many there are, and I definitely under promise. Like I always say way less than what there actually is, which to my detriment, I think, because I think that's why I say like you're so confident with what you put out. I feel like I am always offering this very small amount of product because I'm so nervous of taking orders that I can't fill. And that's something I should get over to an extent. But
I get it the week of, like, but if you think there's 6 bunches there, at least list like 4 or 5.
Yeah.
Is that what you do, or you do like half of what you think?
Yeah, no, I probably do say if I have 6 bunches, probably list 4. That's probably about what I would do.
Yeah, like 2/3 of what you've got.
Oh, yeah. But on that, like something that is really important is if you don't have it, to communicate it as early as possible, which is hard because I feel like it's an not awkward conversation, but you're disappointing someone. So you want to let them know. But something I've come across this season is communicating, especially before a florist is going to do their market run, is really important.
Yes.
And not that I've told someone I haven't had something, but quite often they've asked me if I do, and then I haven't replied in time. And so they've just got it from the markets before. I really need to make sure I don't do that.
Yeah. We need to point out that selling roadside stand, that is your main business. Selling to florists is like an additional thing. So
it's not my focus.
Don't have as much time to communicate with florists and
I guess it's partly also just that, your time being wrapped up in other things and my farm being really spread out, is that if I'm inside with my kids, I can't duck out and check what I have.
Yeah. You've got to wait until the next time you
so because Wednesday is my day off, like my day on the farm, quite often it's the day when I get out and look at things, and that's the day when florists have already been to the market. So that's why that has happened because, that's... Is
that going to change next year?
No. But I think I just need to, go out with a head torch and have a look the day they message me, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Or even on a Tuesday night.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or maybe even not even on a Tuesday night, because then they might not
see it in time.
But
for
Wednesday morning.
It's just that thing of kind of being aware that they have other options for sourcing. So just let them know. Like no one has ever been annoyed at me not having something.
Me either.
They're just, that's sweet. I'll just grab it, where I can, or I'll get something else.
Or even if it's like an unusual crop that they can't get elsewhere.
Yeah.
Florists are used to having to like adjust recipes accordingly. They'll find another flower to fill that need, that purpose. So even if you notice like a week beforehand that a crop isn't looking great, or you've had thrips turn up and you're not sure how much damage they're going to do by the time that you cut, just let the florist know there's a chance that you may not have it, or it could be B grade quality. Yeah, just try and communicate that. And if you can offer a substitute for what that flower is going to achieve, like something white and airy, you could try and offer something else. But yeah, try and give them as much notice as possible. Shall we move on to the fun topic of pricing? This is a tricky topic.
It is tricky, and it's something that feels like quite personal to talk about. And yeah, I particularly am really self-conscious about it because I feel like I've had judgment from other growers about pricing, and I'm always
prices are too low. But then you've also had prices. It just is so. There's so many things that affect pricing.
Yeah.
Even down to like stem length. Like last year, another grower was selling dahlias for a certain price, and Katie's was cheaper, but something that wasn't like thought about until there was like a comparison done is Katie was cutting her stems for like the same length as she would for her retail bunches. So they were shorter.
Yeah.
So there was a reason that they were cheaper.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's that sort of thing to take into consideration. Totally. There's so many variables, even as far as it could take another grower, like it could cost another grower more money for whatever reason to produce the same crop.
Yeah.
Or it could be more taxing on them physically. And for that reason, to justify it, they need to have a higher price. So let's talk about the variables of pricing. It can come down to the variety or like the species of the flower, availability, so how common the crop is in your area or how readily available it is, the season, like
if you can get something to flower out of its season, charge more.
Or if you're in a specific microclimate that you get an early flash of something, or if it blooms later than other growers. Some people will adjust their prices depending on that throughout the season. And also like your socioeconomic area.
Yeah, something like about variety. Like say, I know we've talked about how I've been selling my digiplexus for more than my foxgloves. Mm-hmm. And because for me, they've been perennials that I've paid for the plant that has been much more expensive than a plug for a foxglove. Yeah, it's funny because hopefully they will be a perennial for me and next year they'll be more productive. And I don't know if I will reduce the price. Like I haven't had anyone comment on it being expensive. I've sold them.
Is the vase life longer?
They have a great vase. Like I have a stem on my table that would have been picked last week. So probably 8 days ago and it still looks so pretty. But yeah, I haven't vase tested foxgloves very much. I don't know if they're similar, if they'd have like a over 7-day vase life.
I think they do. If you pick them when they've only like a third to half open and the top still has.
Yeah. But yeah, so for me, one of the reasons I've charged so much is just because that's what it's worth for me.
Mm-hmm.
And that might change next year if the circumstances are different. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I haven't had any complaints. And so maybe I will just keep it the same. But I feel like, that's one of the reasons why pricing is so personal. Yeah. And because I sell retail, I have kind of decided on the stance of I'm trying not to let other people's pricing bother me or their opinions. And by this, I mean other growers. And I am charging what I'm happy to sell it for and not have it myself. So as an example, sunflowers, I listed sunflowers this week and I worked out how much do I need them for my retail bunches on the weekend? And therefore, what am I willing to sell them for?
Yeah.
Because there were smaller stems, as in because I've planted them close together. So they're really small sunflowers. So I didn't feel like it was a fair comparison to just charge like what our local wholesaler is charging because they were small. But I also wasn't willing to sell them for like $1.50 because they're worth more than that to me in a retail bunch. So I'm just kind of going on my own feelings of my pricing.
And that's like it does come down to whatever you're comfortable with.
Yeah, and whatever makes you profitable, really.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, dahlias are another one. I haven't started listing them as available yet. And so it's still something that I'm kind of deciding on my price. But yeah, that's how I'm going to judge it as well. And
how precious it feels to you to your retail bunches.
Exactly. And probably also how much volume I have. And if I have a lot of volume, which, you know, if all going well, I should have like a large volume of dahlias, I'm not going to feel bad for charging less, which is maybe controversial. As soon as I said that, I was like, maybe I don't want to say that.
No, I think.
But yeah.
Yeah. Do you adjust your prices throughout the season?
No.
I don't either. And that's not like an ethical stance or anything. I don't think it's wrong to adjust your prices based on like all of the things we just talked about, like adjusting them throughout the season. I just do that for my own sanity, keeping it simple and being able to remember my prices off the top of my head.
Totally.
Yeah, I do. I mean, I don't change my prices throughout the season, but I do have like different products for stem length. So like early in the season on my availability list, I have short stem pansies and long stem pansies, and they're different prices. And same this season, I started selling the like shorter stems of like the side branches of my zinnias that are like 20 to 30 centimeters. I sell them cheaper, and they're just like a separate product. They've been very popular.
Yeah, I did that this week because you suggested it.
Yeah. And they're always the first ones to sell.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah. And I also, if I have something that I know the florist will still want, if the quality is less, I will still list it, but as B grade, or I might not actually add it as a product to my availability list, but I'll include it in the body of the email that I send. I've also got the last of this season's corn cockle. It's B grade, and this is the price per bunch opposed to the normal price of this.
And then I feel like you also can, which I've done with my apricot foxgloves. I've been selling the short stems of them for the same price because florists have wanted them.
Yeah, because there's a demand for them still.
There's quite a few of us in our group that were all growing them, and none of us have the big, huge stems anymore. So
it's just the side shoots. Yeah, but they're still willing to pay the same price because of the demand.
But making it very clear, or trying to make it very clear that I'm not selling the same product I was a month ago or 2 months ago. Like it's now a much shorter
stems, smaller blooms.
Yeah.
As far as where to find pricing information or how to set your prices, obviously the best solution is to work out what it costs you to produce the flower and then decide on a profit margin that you are happy with and comfortable with. But that's not always easy or feasible, especially in your first year of growing, or if it's your first time growing a crop. You kind of need the data first to be able to do a cost of production breakdown. And again, the sort of calculation of how to work it out is in the resource on my website. And I've given an example of how I worked out cost of production for my pansies and like the labor that goes into it and everything. But it's not always feasible to do that. So you kind of want a guide of where to start. You don't want to set your prices the same as anyone else, but you just need a starting point. And the best places that we've both found are other wholesale, like subscribe to a wholesaler availability list. You need an ABN to do that. Yeah, Katie gets a wholesale list every single week in her emails from a local wholesaler. You also like do wedding flowers and you actually buy from them.
Yeah, I signed up to it because I was wanting to order some flowers for a wedding. And I wasn't really thinking of it for pricing, but it is really helpful, and I have looked it up a few times.
And I sometimes ask Katie for it.
Yeah.
I have asked wholesalers for price lists before, and I probably went about it the wrong way, and I haven't really needed to get it ongoing. But they've sent me a price list for a one-off. But I obviously just didn't ask to be added to their weekly availability.
But so much of what you grow wouldn't be on it.
That's exactly right. So it's it's quite tricky for me to set my pricing. I usually I look at pricing of similar things and then usually mark it up because it's not a readily available thing. Often there is demand for it. But the wholesale is so helpful. But then Katie and I also use like Facebook groups. There's I think it's called Australia's Micro Flower Farms is the Facebook group. We use that as like a search engine.
Yeah.
We'll like search old content.
And people post in there all the time asking for prices. So you definitely could do that as well.
Yeah. I just feel like it's so oversaturated with pricing questions. You can just go and search and look in the comments of previous posts. The Land newspaper in New South Wales, I heard that it stopped. I haven't bought it recently. I have bought it probably 3 times since I've been growing at different times of year, so that, you know, because crops appear on it obviously seasonally, but I haven't bought it within the last 3 months. And within that time, I've seen a couple of people say that they've stopped including the flower wholesale price list in it.
Right.
I don't know that for a fact, but I have seen that said. There are photos in the Facebook group of that page in the Land newspaper from previous months.
Yeah.
And even if a post is old, it's still like a good starting point. Like, you know that the price will have gone up since then, even if it's like 3 years old. It's still a gauge of like
somewhere to start from.
Especially if someone listed like multiple varieties, multiple flowers, and you know what the average price is for one of those flowers now.
Yeah.
You can kind of use that as a comparison. So if like a dahlia was $2 a stem 3 years ago, and now you know it's more like $2.50 to even $3.50, and Cosmos was like 70 cents 3 years ago. You kind of, you can gauge off that. I think those are the main places that I find pricing info, and obviously asking other growers if you have that sort of relationship with them and you can be open with them. It can also be helpful to have grower friends that aren't in your area and they're your Instagram friend. I wouldn't go asking a grower on Instagram that you haven't previously spoken to. Like, you'd want to have a relationship a little bit, like an online relationship.
Yeah.
I certainly have done that as long as I have spoken to them
before,
like a few times, not just once. Yeah. And then, like we said earlier, you can ask the florist, but I wouldn't make a habit of doing that.
Yes.
Just do it when you can't find the information elsewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have any other places you find pricing?
Another grower who's like 2 hours away, we used to share plugs a lot, and so we were often growing the same things, and so I'd ask her. Yeah. And we're not each other's competition at all because we're like a fair way apart, but that was helpful.
Yeah. We should also mention, try not to set your price exactly the same, because that can be classed as price fixing, and the ACCC sees that as collusion. So you can get in trouble for doing that. So just use other people's pricing as a gauge.
Yeah. And it should be different because your flowers are also probably, you know, slightly different to theirs for whatever reason, like longer stems, more, you know, buds. Like, there's going to be something different you could judge on. And then, with our invoicing systems, I use Xero just because that was what the accountant that we went to this year suggested. I do kind of wish that I'd gone QuickBooks so that I could steal Sarah's knowledge, because I'm not very good at Xero. I just do such basic.
And I've actually heard from you and a couple of other people, not that Xero is hard to use, but that there have been certain things that have been hard to figure out. Just like a couple of small things, whereas I haven't had any problems with QuickBooks. And there's like really great resources as far as YouTube videos and stuff like that.
And it also seems like it has really cool reporting that is helpful for flower farming in terms of being able to see how many stems of each crop you have sold and that sort of thing. Like, QuickBooks seems really good for that.
Does Xero not?
I've never looked. I can't report back whether it does or it doesn't.
I am certain it does. I mean, I'm not certain because I've never seen it, but it would have to.
Surely.
Yeah, it would have to. Yeah, I love QuickBooks. The only reason I chose QuickBooks is because that's what the girls from, what's the podcast called?
The Dirt on Flowers.
The Dirt on Flowers. Yeah. And they have like specific episodes about
how to do stuff in QuickBooks.
Yeah, about QuickBooks and managing your bookkeeping and stuff. Yeah. So, that's the only reason I went with that. And as far as your payment terms, so like on your invoice, you should include your payment terms, how long the florist has to pay the invoice. I used to have mine set to 30 days, but I found that, and I actually have had an instance of this week, which it's not even a big deal, but I feel awkward about it and I haven't responded yet. They messaged me yesterday. I sent a reminder for an invoice, which my payment terms are now 15 days.
Yeah.
And I haven't set up automatic invoice reminders when a payment is due or overdue. Because I only reconcile my invoices once a week, I'm like, well, if that reminder goes out before I reconcile, they very well could have paid it.
Yeah.
And now I feel like I'm nagging them when they've already paid. So I send my reminders manually. Like, it's still through a button, but it's just not automatic. I have to trigger it. And I just hadn't sent any reminders for 2 weeks, and it ended up being, like a month before I sent this reminder that an invoice is due. And this florist messaged me being like, I don't remember buying this. And that's the reason that I've shortened my payment terms to 15 days because, sometimes I've never had a florist like actually straight up dispute it, but I have had florists question, like, did I buy that?
I have mine as 7 days, but I currently have people that are very overdue, like over a month overdue, and I really need to follow up. And I did I feel like the one that is the most overdue, I had like around that time I had just done a whole heap, and like that one didn't get a reminder because it wasn't overdue yet, and it now is. And I feel nervous because it's someone who it's the only time they've bought off me this season, so they probably won't remember either.
How much was the invoice? Because I have wiped invoices before in that situation.
$40.
Yeah, mine was 30 and I wiped it which is not good business practice. But that's just, I felt like it was my fault because it was like it had been 6 weeks since they'd purchased it. This was back when it was 30 days terms, and then it was like 2 weeks later that I sent the that I realized, and I was like, I'm not sending a reminder now for a $30 invoice because that's on me for not catching it sooner, even though I probably shouldn't think of it that way. But I feel like you don't need to be nervous about sending reminders as long as you do it within a reasonable time frame, because like I forget to pay invoices. I don't know if I should include this, but I forgot to pay an invoice for several months to ball, like for a ball order. That was a lot of money. And I thought that I had paid it.
Yes.
But
it is so easy to forget stuff. I'm planning to send out an email. I might have 10 like overdue invoices.
Oh, same. And I've sent out a mass lot recently, and there was a florist who had a very overdue invoice that I had reminded her of 5 times. Like, it wasn't that she didn't want to pay it or that she didn't have the money to pay it. It was just she was going through a really, really busy time with so much on her plate, so much more than normal, and she's already like quite a frazzled person. So I knew it was
just a mistake.
It was just a mistake, and she did pay it.
Yeah, I think I'll send an email to all of them. But that particular one, maybe I will send her an email because I haven't even sent her a reminder yet. But if she questions it, maybe I will just leave it. So we've mentioned the harvest heaps in kind of how, like, it's come across in this because for both of us, that's the main way that we sell to florists. So the harvest is a hub where we meet at a warehouse.
One of the florists' warehouses.
Yeah. And we sell our flowers. It's not a market in the sense that we're mostly people are just collecting their pre-orders, but we do take along flowers if anyone needs extras. Yeah, it's really beneficial. Yeah, I find it really beneficial because it's a place where florists can come and pick up, and it means I don't have to do deliveries. It's central. It has also connected me with a whole lot of florists that I didn't previously have contacts with. And we're really lucky. I mean, Sarah is great at building those kind of relationships. And then Ash, who we did that episode with, between the two of them, they have built this really great community of people who are passionate about local flowers. It's something that it's coming up to a year since we started it.
And it has, like, I was looking at my numbers for this period of time, like the spring season last year compared to this year, and it has more than doubled my revenue.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I have increased my growing space a bit.
Yeah.
I've increased my growing space by more than a quarter, but less than a third. And but I've more than doubled my revenue.
Yeah.
And that I attribute that to the harvest. Yeah.
Yeah.
Katie and I both live out of Newcastle, about 40 minutes out.
Yeah.
So we're not central to a lot of the florists. So yeah, going into Newcastle once a week, it just makes it so much more accessible.
Yeah. And it's also just like so lovely to see florists in person, like to have a chat, to be able to show them your flowers, and also to see other growers in person as well.
Mm-hmm.
I think, from a competition standpoint, spending a couple of hours chatting with your competition is lovely.
Yeah. It like breaks down those barriers, those awkwardness and the competitive sort of mindset that we can get into. But yeah, Katie and I don't really, we offer when I say we, I mean me and Sam as Quail Cottage, we offer delivery, I would say sporadically. Like Sam drives around for his work. He's a sales rep, so he drives around to lots of different shops. And if he's going to be in a certain area, we'll deliver to those areas. We have certain florists in Sydney, and we sort of like plan, either they plan around us or we plan around them when Sam's route is to that area, so that they can get our flowers for weddings, because they love certain flowers that we grow. So we kind of like customize Sam's schedule based on if she has a wedding that she really wants flowers for. And yeah, Sam works in Newcastle once a week, so he can deliver on those days. But yeah, other than that, we don't really deliver.
No. And I used to do more, and then I'd find myself running late for work and knowing that I had to deliver flowers on my way, and it made me so stressed that I have basically stopped. I just have a little pickup point from my house where flowers are in the shade, and florists come and pick up from there if they need to. It has made me nervous in this recent hot weather. If they're not coming in the morning, that makes me quite anxious.
I just flat out say, like, if they message me asking if they can pick up flowers, I'll say, can you come in the morning? Basically only if you can come in the morning.
Yeah.
Because even if the flowers are in the shade.
Yeah, when it's 40 degrees, it doesn't necessarily.
It doesn't matter. I think if I was offering pick up more, if we didn't have the harvest, I would like probably set up like a little, like on my property within our fence, so that, it's not just like easy for passers-by to grab stuff and see. I'd probably set up like a little hut that had a fridge in it. And if I was worried about people like theft, you could even put like a little padlock with a PIN code on it and just tell the florist what the code is.
Be able to do that, But because we have the harvest, that's probably not going to be.
No, I wouldn't.
But yeah, that would be an option.
Yeah.
And then if you are doing deliveries, obviously just like try and plan to maximize your time and kilometers to deliver to multiple people if you can.
Yeah, like use Google Maps to plan your route the most efficiently, and like setting regular delivery windows. If I didn't work full time off the farm, I would offer delivery, and I would have like set delivery days and probably set delivery times too. And labeling buckets, like having everything organized beforehand so you're not scrambling once you get to the florist, like having all of their stuff, all of their buckets grouped together in the car or the van or the ute, whatever you're using. All right. Well, I feel like we've covered most things, or as much as we can in a podcast format. There is a lot more in the resource. Do you have anything else to add before we wrap up?
I don't think so.
I just thought of something.
Yeah.
Another selling point, I guess. Stripping stems.
Oh, yeah.
So it's probably because Katie sells retail and I used to sell retail. Stripping stems is just like an automatic thing. Like we wouldn't think of not stripping stems.
Yeah.
But that's not the done thing with selling wholesale. Florists are used to having to like strip and condition and prepare the flowers that they buy. And I found that
they
really appreciate just being able to buy ready to use flowers.
Yeah, I actually do it even more than I do for my own, like when I'm using them, because if I have flowers that don't sell at the harvest that I take home and use myself, I'm always so like happy that they're already stripped and neat and tidy. So I do it to a higher standard.
Yes. And then you enjoy using those flowers more.
Yeah.
That's too funny. Yeah. So I think it's a decision that you have to make. If you're time poor, don't. That's not like
it's not essential.
Essential.
But it's an extra little perk.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
definitely a perk. Yeah, so I guess to summarize things, keep things as simple as possible for the florist and for yourself. Be consistent and over-communicate even.
Yeah.
Not to the point of like writing essays, but keep the florist up to date. Whenever I send a florist an update, they really appreciate it. I'll often like send them a video. Like I will be talking to the camera.
Yeah.
And if it's 2 weeks beforehand, if they've put in a big pre-order with me for an event, I will go on a little walk around all the flowers that they've ordered and give them an update on how things are looking. Like, especially in spring, it's hard to tell if something's going to be ready or not, especially if it's first flush. So I kind of, they really appreciate that. But even if it's just an email or a DM, however you communicate.
And aiming to build relationships with florists so they're a long-term customer rather than having one-off sales, because it just becomes so much easier. It's so lovely having florists that order off you regularly and you get to know what they like, what they're likely to order. You can plan around them.
Yeah. And you can suggest orders for them.
Yeah. Or think, oh, I've got this thing that has just started I wasn't expecting to have. Would it work?
Yeah.
And that they can really appreciate that, and it's an extra sale.
Yeah. So you don't need acres of room to sell to florists. I feel like that's a misconception that you have to have like huge quantities of things to successfully sell to florists. And I guess success looks different to everyone. Like, obviously florists need quantity, but it doesn't necessarily limit you to not being able to sell to them if you can't supply quantity. You can niche down or ask them if there's a gap in the market that you can fill. Yeah, you just need good systems and a reliable rhythm.
Yeah.
And selling to florists is like my favorite thing. I love how excited they get about new stuff and how appreciative they are of our quality. And it doesn't have to be scary. Yeah. It's a little bit scary, but it doesn't have to be, especially once you start building long-term relationships.
And the more you do it, the more you'll get used to it and the better you'll get. So we have one more episode to go before our season finishes. So hope you listen along.
Actually, I was going to talk to you about this off the podcast, but why not include it in the podcast? I was thinking about when we will return, and I was thinking maybe March, because that's when we'll be like really getting stuck into cool flowers and preparing for spring, which we'll probably be annoyed at ourselves for doing because we'll be really busy. But I feel like that's when we will want to talk about stuff the most and have the most stuff to talk about. Would you agree? Yeah. Don't hold us to that, but that's what we're thinking.
And we've got one more episode to go.
Yes.
This is not the last one.
It's not. We've got a season wrap up, a monthly wrap up and a season wrap up.
So make sure you follow and subscribe wherever you're listening to our episodes so they drop into your feed, and follow us on Instagram where we share even more blooms behind the scenes, and if you're lucky we might even show you the weediest corners of our farms.
Bye.